Hey everybody, welcome back to The Beard and the Bald. I am Paul Shirey, the Beard, joined by my compatriot, the Bald, Christopher Bumbray.
Well, hello everyone.
I always want to say Christopher J. Bumbray. What's your middle name?
Christopher W. Bumbray. Williams.
Can we change it? Can we change it to J?
No, C.W. Bumbray. Oh, like Michael J. Fox?
I don't know. I feel like there should be a J. Let's just change it.
Christopher J. Bumbray.
Christopher Jeremiah Bumbray.
Christopher Jeremiah Bumbray. Jeremiah would
That'd be a good Hollywood name.
Yeah. Jeremiah.
Christopher Jeremiah Bumbray.
I'd just go by C.J. Bumbray. C.J. Bumbray.
Showdown in Little Tokyo 2. The
Starring
Return.
C.J. Bumbray.
Yeah, CJ. I could start calling you CJ and be like, why do they call you CJ? And you'll be like, I have no idea. There is no J in my name. Anyway.
Cool jerk off.
That's just weird.
The best one movie where they were talking about guys' abbreviations for their names was Warren Oates and Roy Scheider in Blue Thunder, when they're talking about Malcolm McDowell, and he goes, his name is F.E. Grant, and he goes, what does the F.E. stand for? He goes, fuck everyone.
God. I need to watch Blue Thunder again. I love that movie when I was a kid.
That's a great flick, man. That held up very well. That was actually a well-shared best movie you never saw.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were just discussing that. We have lots to discuss today, but best movie you never saw has actually really taken off, which I love because I created it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Chris is doing it because I think Chris gets it. He chooses the right titles, because that's the way I started the column, was to recognize, these movies that we love and that we talk about, but they're not Oscar winners.
No.
And they're not like bona fide cinematic classics in the traditional sense, but
although
for fans, they're
so many people writing though. I've seen it seen it
from the beginning. What people don't get is that it's it's not for the people that have seen it, it's for the people that haven't.
What's for the young? I've always kind of targeted at the younger readers, right? Like the readers in their late teens, early 20s. That probably haven't seen these movies. Like
the younger
Showdown
audience.
in Little Tokyo, guaranteed there was a chunk of people that read that yesterday that had never seen it. Guaranteed.
Oh yeah, and I saw there was a guy even on my Twitter. He's like, "Oh, I got to go check this out," because I shared it. And somebody's like, "Oh man, I got to go check this out." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. I get jealous because I'm like, oh, you get to experience it for the first time, you lucky bastard." But there's so many great movies, and I even still have ones that you haven't tackled that I would do.
We were talking about how we're gonna do. Well, I guess I'm probably gonna do Stone Cold pretty soon with Brian the Bosworth,
which is in my mind a classic.
Maybe I'll reach out to him on Twitter or something like that and see if he wants to give me a quote or something about the movie.
I would reach out. You should reach out to Craig Baxley, man. That's the one.
Maybe.
Really want to hear from. What the fuck's he doing? He don't care. He'll fucking.
What else? What were you saying that he choreographed though? He did like the first Captain America or something?
Yeah, he did the 90s Captain America, Craig Baxley. And
he directed that movie?
Yeah, he directed it. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Craig Baxley.
Craig Baxley, I know he did I Come in Peace.
Yeah.
You go with
Hang on. I'm gonna double check and find out if I'm wrong.
He did choreography on like a really cool movie, Baxley. He was like a cool. Now we're doing this. Well, this is where everybody's gonna get to listen to us Googling American. No, he did Action Jackson.
Yeah, Action Jackson, another great fucking movie,
fantastic film, which was actually, I believe, a best movie you never saw. I think I did that. No, you're thinking of his son, Craig Baxley Jr., who did the stunt work on First Avenger.
No, you just calm down. I'm looking now. I could be wrong. God damn it! I swear it was him. Fuck.
Yeah, he did Stone Cold. He did this show I used to watch called Raven.
Here we go, and I'm about to find out. Albert Puyen. That's what I was thinking of, and I was confusing him with Baxley.
Albert Puyen fucking sucks, man.
No, come on. He does like all the schlocky movies, but he did the first Cyborg. That's where I was confusing him.
Okay.
He did the first Cyborg with Van Damme, which is a cheesy, silly movie, but it's still really fun. I just watched it again on Amazon Prime. But yeah, he's done lots of like cheese. And Nemesis, that was the other one I was thinking of. That was like
Nemesis is kind of cool.
Nemesis is cool, but here's the thing: like they rip off. There's so much shit ripped off from Nemesis in Underworld.
Yeah,
like there's all type like that tends to happen. You get these like cheesy like action movie types, filmmakers, and then you get like the quote unquote legit upscale guys that just like rip them off.
Oh,
And it's
there are a
always like,
couple.
oh, I saw that in.
There are a couple from the 90s that were really good, like direct-to-video movies that kind of have been getting ripped off. Like one of them was Excessive Force with Thomas Ian Griffin. I remember that being really cool. And there was another one, Livewire with Pierce Brosnan. I also remember
Livewire's great.
Yeah, I remember that has a really cool ending too, where he's like kind of MacGyvering some stuff. And
it's a great opening for Livewire too. I really like.
Oh yeah, and then Drive with Mark Dacascos.
Oh yeah,
that's a really well choreographed movie.
There's some great little gems out there that I think they get shied away and overlooked just because, well, they're never going to win a golden trophy. But doesn't matter.
I'm definitely going to do Stone Cold at some point. I think my next one is probably going to be Sneakers, though. I've been meaning to rewatch that.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah. And you know what? I guarantee you, lots of people have forgotten about Sneakers. And
great movie, though.
The scene where Redford has to move like really slow. I just love that. That's such a great. It's a great movie. A great score by James Horner too.
Yeah. I like that movie a lot. I also like 3 Days of the Condor. Did you ever see that one with Redford?
Yeah, but that's dated.
Well, it's got the show now coming out based on it with Max Irons, I think. Jeremiah Johnson's a good movie too.
Jeremiah Johnson's amazing.
Yeah,
that's a great one. So I don't think there's really no. I don't think there's a limit with best movie you never saw, which is another thing. When I started, I was like, you could write about this forever,
Well, and it seems that the 80s, 90s movies are the ones that get the best reaction.
Yeah,
it's always kind of been like that.
For sure. And I think sometimes there's some of the newer ones. I remember I wrote about Fantastic Mr. Fox was one of mine because it kind of got really overlooked. Like when it came out, it just kind of came and went. And I was like, man, I love this movie.
It
like,
was
why is
really
nobody
good.
talking about this? Like, it's like genuinely fantastic.
I actually preferred it to Isle of Dogs. I mean, I loved Isle of Dogs, but I like Fantastic Mr. Fox even more.
Yeah, I'm the same. I love the same way. I loved Isle of Dogs. I think it's one of the best of the year. But Fantastic Mr. Fox is really, it's actually one of my all-time favorite movies. I watch it probably, I'd say 2-3 times a year.
Wow.
So, that's to me, that's a classic.
Short movies are good that way because they kind of go down. They go down easy. Well, I had my yearly rewatch last night, actually, of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
A little late to the party on that one.
I know. Well, I don't think of it as a Thanksgiving movie, though. I think of it kind of as a holiday movie, like a generic holiday movie. But I always think of it as a Christmas movie, even though it's not. Because, Thanksgiving for us is in October, right? But it's funny. I watched it last night. My girlfriend had never seen it before. So I put it on, and she's kind of like at the beginning, she's not really paying attention. She's like doodling around on her phone, and she's probably just thinking, oh, he wants to watch this movie, whatever. And she's kind of doing her thing. And then gradually, as the jokes start, she starts to look up from her phone a little bit more. Right. And by the time they get on the airplane and John Candy takes his socks off, the phone is down and she's laughing. And by the end of the movie, she's laughing so hard, but then when Candy says that his wife is dead, she's like, ah, ah, ah.
She made those sounds. Was that from the movie or was something else going on at the end of the movie?
A lot of emotions. It is a great movie, though.
It's been a while since I've watched it. I always think there's like a number of scenes that always stand out, like the those aren't pillows scene. It's hilarious. And then the opening is great with Kevin Bacon when they're like wanting to get the cab.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Such a good movie.
So anyways, we had a kind of a, I don't know, everybody was talking about, everybody's hyping like, oh, it's a big trailer week. It was not a big trailer week.
Well, Avengers, Avengers
Endgame and Captain Marvel were big trailers, but there was like, oh, and then there's going to be Spider-Man. Oh, and then there's going to be Godzilla. Oh, and then there's going to be and it's like, Jesus Christ, none of this is happening. You guys need to calm the fuck down. And then I don't know if you followed it on Twitter, probably not as much as I witnessed it, but the entitlement of people wanting the Avengers Endgame trailer, which they didn't, just Avengers 4 at the time because they didn't even know it was Endgame yet. But the entitlement of some fans is just, it's sickening, to be honest.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
It's
I know.
sickening. Like our President Bush died, and the supposedly it delayed the trailer, but there's no fact thus far that says that's exactly what happened. But because there were certain people hyping, hey, a trailer's coming, and then they're like, oh, it's probably going to be delayed because the president died. And there's people like, I don't give a fuck if the fucking president died. I want my fucking trailer. And I'm just like, you guys, you're the most disrespectful little cunts I've ever fucking heard or seen in my life.
Like, people are just so out of touch, though. I mean, first of all, that didn't delay the trailer. There's no way. And also, I mean, it came out exactly when they wanted it to come out, and people are always just kind of like that, though. We've talked about this so many times. It's the entitlement of having everything now, and Twitter, and everybody's kind of internet tough, right? Where they're tough as long as you don't actually know who they are, right? And then you know who they are, and then they're not so tough anymore. I mean, a good example. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but a friend of mine had a wedding recently, and is a writer of some renown, and they were getting kind of like alt-right people were trolling their wedding book or wedding guest registry, and they were writing really, really cruel stuff. And these people are all really tough until you actually kind of unravel things, right, and unmask them, and then whoa, they're not so tough anymore. Like, talk about the straw man that kind of collapses, right, the second that their name becomes known. Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no
end to it, and there never will be an end to it.
It's just it's just disgusting to me. I don't even use that word. It's just disgusting. I was just seeing these people, and I even retweeted this kid that he's like in Brazil or something, and he was like, and he was the one I was kind of quoting. It was just like, I don't fucking care. Give me my fucking trailer. And it's like this little petulant fuck just sitting there like smacking his fucking digital fork on the table, demanding his trailer. It's like, go fuck yourself, you little fucking brat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a time when none of this existed, and yeah, maybe it exists now, and that's the reality now. But you don't have to be a fucking dickhead about it.
No, I like what Travis said about it, because I was kind of inputting myself in some of your diatribes this week, and I like what he said. It was just, if it was up to him, he'd go into it without ever having seen a trailer. Me too.
No, yeah, I said the same thing. I was like, I would absolutely love to just watch that movie with no images in my head whatsoever. Can you imagine? I mean, just think about that experience. It's going to be one of the biggest movies. I don't know all time, but it's going to be huge. It's a culmination. It is literally the finale of the first 10 years of Marvel. It's going to change things forever.
Yeah. It's
going to be epic. I don't want any, people are like already fan theorizing and doing all kinds of stuff, which is fun, but it's like, I don't want any of that tumbling around in my head. Yeah. I would just love to watch it and just to see it unfold in real time, and just like to have the genuine reactions rather than like, because what happens all too frequently is like, you see these images and sometimes you get attached to these images and trailers and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see that in the movie. I want to see it in context. And then you're just waiting for those moments. And sometimes they never come because they use stuff in trailers like Rogue One, for instance, and many, many others where it's like, whoa, what happened to that one part where it was in all the marketing? And then it's not in the movie, and you're just like, what the fuck? But then beyond that, it's like, you see that part, and you're like, oh, okay, so that's that part in the trailer, and now I see how that works, and okay. And it's almost like it lessens the experience, or changes it, or alters it from being just a genuine, oh, fuck, to like, okay.
I've had it kind of at times when I've been able to go into something and not having seen anything about it, but not on the scale of Avengers, right? Like, for me, it's when I go to the film festivals. There are a couple movies that I've been able to see that there was no footage out for them yet, and it was great. Like, I mean, I could talk about, Mandy last year at Sundance. I hadn't even seen really a still, and I'd just seen that one still of Nicolas Cage's bloody face, and that was great, not knowing where the movie was going, and that was really cool. And I remember Get Out also was just like a last minute thing. I'd never seen, any footage of it, and that was great too, and it's really cool when you can do that for certain movies. But unfortunately, I actually try to avoid trailers when I can, because they really have no appeal to me, because I already want to see what I want to see. So it's unlikely that a trailer is going to sway me one way or another. If I hear about a movie and I don't really like the sound of it, I'm probably not going to bother with it unless I have to review it. But then if I hear about a movie and I like the sound of it, I'm probably going to go, and I don't really necessarily need a trailer to sway me. And I feel like at this point, neither is Marvel, but they're just kind of like teasers, and they're just kind of to appease the fan base, to get
Well,
to get them to wait until the movie comes out. I mean, it is a great selling tool, I'm sure, but it's not like
it's a business though. Like that's one thing is even with the rabid fan base and box office proof that people are going to go see this next one. It's still a business, and they still want to appeal to as many people as possible. And I'm sure Disney will want to do that too. It's still a big investment.
Think about the days though before the internet. What trailers used to be, right? Like,
oh fuck yeah!
When that trailer had to be amazing, because that was going to be the first time you'd heard of the movie, unless you were somebody who read all the trades. It was going to be the first time you ever heard of the movie. And it might be the last time you heard of it as well, right? Until it came out. So it had to make this until you saw either the ad in the newspaper or some TV teasers. So the trailer had to make a really big impact, and so did the poster. Those two things were all important, and
and a lot of times the first time, pretty much the first time you would see a poster is at the theater.
Yeah,
you'd be like, oh, what is that? Ooh,
yeah.
Wow,
it's exciting. Yeah, it was super exciting.
So I remember this is my favorite trailer story, I guess, or memory, I guess you could say, is I really got into Michael Bay after Bad Boys. I think most people did. And this was an age there wasn't internet, but there was magazines and all. Like I read Premiere and I read Starlog and I read every fucking magazine, every magazine that was available. Entertainment Weekly, of course. I read everything. I just consumed it. That's pretty much what led to
Cinescape,
why I am and who I am today. Cinescape, yep. And anyways, I remember just being so I was like, man, Michael Bay, this is like a great talent to watch. Like I really want to see what he does next. And I had heard that he was doing Armageddon with, Bruce Willis. And I was like, holy shit. Cause that was when I was still loved Bruce Willis. And I was like, oh man, Bruce Willis and fucking Michael Bay, this is going to be amazing. But there was no trailers. There was no set reports, no set visits, no images, stills, anything out there. And I remember I went to see some crappy movie with my girlfriend at the time, and her best friend was with her too. And we were just sitting there and, just the movie, whatever movie was getting ready to start, but the trailers had started, and the Armageddon trailer began. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. It's just popped up out of nowhere. And it was a full length trailer.
Yeah. It had the Charlton Heston narration too. Didn't it?
Yeah. They had that. And then it was just it's a really well cut trailer. And I had this, I was shocked. It's like when you see something that you're super excited for the first time. And I was just sitting there, and I remember my girlfriend's friend was looking at me and laughing. She was like, oh my God, look at his face. Because I was transfixed. I was just holy fuck. And I just wanted to go home. I didn't even want to watch the movie that we were there to see. I wanted to go home and just curl into a ball of joy and suck my thumb. Cause I was just oh, that looks so fucking great. And it was
and they
it
used
was a
the
wonderful
music,
experience for me.
They used the music from The Rock for that trailer. I remember that trailer really well.
Yeah, it was good, man. I was just and it just looked fantastic. Yeah. The movie itself ended up being a mixed bag for me, but that trailer, holy shit! I actually haven't
seen that movie since 1999. I kind of like to revisit it.
It's a fucking mess. I think the biggest problem I had with Armageddon.
Well, I loved it when I saw it.
I didn't love it. I enjoyed it to a point, but I was the problem that I had was that, and even Michael Bay, when he was making the movie, he said, he's like, I don't ever want anybody to be able to take a breath. It's it's just gonna. He's like, once one thing goes wrong, I'm just gonna make another thing go wrong, and then another thing, and then another thing.
Which is just, I know.
And I was and there was so many moments, the part where they finally get to this, they get into space and they get in the space station, and it's just go, 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 go. The second they get into that space station, and Peter Stormare's in there, and they're just the second that they get in there, shit just starts going wrong, and I'm like, wait a minute. These are fucking oil drillers, which is already just silly enough as it is, but they're in space. Nobody's taking a second to look outside. Nobody's taking a moment. There are no moments. It's just once they get into space, it's fucking boom, 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 non fucking stop. And it's it's edited like a trailer. The whole movie's edited like a trailer,
like a 2.5 hour long trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people be like, "Oh, that's just amazing." I'm like, think
No.
about that for a second. 2.5 hours of a trailer is not paradise. It's kind of torture.
It's a bombardment.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Armageddon doesn't have its entertainment value, because it does. It looks great. It's got a great score by Trevor Rabin. It's got some good performances, and it's it's an entertaining romp. But Jesus Christ, it is relentless, and it just has no levity to it whatsoever.
Trailer I loved was the trailer for Con Air on the video for The Rock. Oh, yeah. And I remember that pumped me up.
Yeah, and they used the Trevor Rabin theme score for that too, which is another great one. I don't know I don't even know what happened to Trevor Rabin. He was doing all kinds of scores, and now he's not doing any.
Yeah, he used to be a really good composer too.
Yeah, he was. I don't know what's up with him.
Mark Mancina as well was really good for action flicks.
Yeah, and I don't know where he went either.
That Speed score is great.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. In case you didn't know, it's very fresh in my brain. I saw Speed like 5 times in the theater the year it came out.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Speed, both the movie and the drug.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. I am a fan of Speed, if you know what I'm saying.
Trevor Rabin now, according to IMDb, did music for 12 Monkeys, the TV show. Max, the dog in the army, and his last big movie was Grudge Match with Stallone and De Niro, and then
damn, what happened to Rabin, bro?
It's like he's not in Hans Zimmer's collective anymore.
Kicked out of the club.
Well, that's the thing, eh? I mean, but Mark Mancina is still doing scores, like he did, but mostly cartoons, like he did Moana.
Oh yeah, that's right, he did.
Yeah, so
it's just they kind of ebbs and flows. You get new. Moana, I think Harry Gregson Williams. He's kind of fallen off a little bit. Rupert Gregson Williams, which I'm guessing is related to Harry. And I don't really know, but I would assume though. He's making his way, and he did Wonder Woman and he did Aquaman. So.
Harry Gregson Williams did the Meg. Ugh. But he also did the Martian,
he also did Kingdom of Heaven, and he did tons of other. Yeah. He did Man on Fire.
He's doing Mulan.
He did Unstoppable. Unstoppable is a great fucking score. Tony Scott's last film too. Anyways, so we've totally gone off the rails on trailers here, but
should we get to our first? Yeah.
Anyways, Avengers Endgame trailer came out, and it's not really a trailer; it's more of a teaser. And I have to say, I loved it because it showed me almost nothing.
Yeah,
and I don't want to see any more.
Leave it at that. Exactly. Just
please, seriously, I'm not even kidding. Like, dude, we're 4 months away. I can wait.
Yeah, me too.
You can wait.
Oh God, I don't. I don't need
another Avengers trailer.
I don't need to see a trailer until it comes out. Until the movie comes out.
And according to an inside source, I don't know how accurate this is, so just take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, they're supposedly just using the first 15 minutes of the film's footage for promotional stuff and nothing more.
Oh well, that's good. I'd love that if they did.
And I hope that's true. I can't say that it is, but just something I heard in the grapevine. But
kind of sucks that Captain America shaved his beard, though.
I know, right, dude? That's the sign of a man.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah, he did. He had a good beard, but I mean, I guess traditionally in the comics, he doesn't normally. But I don't know. If I took over Captain America, I would love to write that comic. I would give him a beard. Mm-hmm. Why not?
Sexy man beard.
Fuck yeah, dude. Beards are the shit. That's what real. Anyways, I really enjoyed the teaser, and I was like, that was perfect. When it was over, I was like, I don't want to see any more. And it really was more of a title reveal anyways, because you didn't get too much. And there was enough to speculate, Tony's floating in space, going to die. Captain Marvel or somebody's going to fucking float in and save his ass and bring him back to Earth or wherever. And then I did think it was really cool that we saw a confirmation, as it is, that Clint Barton / Hawkeye is in Ronin garb. And you may not be aware of Ronin, but Clint Barton took on the role of Ronin, which is like this kind of ninja assassin dude that was in New Avengers for a good while, for years, and it was a long time before they revealed who it actually was underneath the costume, and it was Clint Barton, and it appears that that is the costume that he's wearing in the trailer. So it's kind of cool that he's taken on the Ronin mantle. So he's changed his identity or his superhero identity. And I think that's cool that they use that they embrace that. Cause it's like one of those things where it's like, it didn't last that long in the comics. Like, I don't even think there's a current Ronin in the comics, but it was like, oh, that's cool. Like that was fucking Hawkeye the whole time. He's like a fucking ninja with swords. And that was cool. And that's in the trailer. So I like that. Very nice.
And
otherwise, we don't need to see anymore.
And then there was Captain Marvel.
And then there's Captain Marvel, which, aside from like the fact that they're using let me learn how to speak again. The updated costume in the comics, which is her Mohawk costume, which I think is a really cool fucking costume. Although I will say I still like the bathing suit costume as well. I could see how that doesn't fly cinematically, but I still prefer it. But anyways, the new one's cool, and I think it's awesome that they're using the Mohawk. And even I showed the trailer for my son last night for the first time. He hadn't seen it yet. And that was his first comment when it was over. He's like, "Oh, she looks really cool with the Mohawk costume." That was his initial comment. And I was like, "Yeah, that looks great." But aside from that, the trailer itself, like, it just didn't like blow me away. It didn't move me in any way. I was just kind of, it really felt like, I hate to say this because it just sounds fucking a little petulant, but it just seems like standard Marvel. You know, like I didn't see anything there's like, oh wow, that's gonna be amazing. And a lot of the dialogue that's peppered throughout that trailer is just kind of, it's so fucking hammy and so like generic, you know, like I'm not gonna fight this war, I'm gonna end it. Like, you end a war by fighting it, dipshit. It's just like so much, there's just silliness in there, and it's just like so uninspired. I think that's the right word to say.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see when it comes out. You know, that's the thing. I mean, I feel like people are ready to kind of, proclaim that it's like the greatest movie ever, and it's kind of, it almost gets politicized, I think, at a certain point,
it's a female, it's the first female.
Well, I mean,
so it better be great.
I hope it is. I mean, it would be nice if it was. I mean, Wonder Woman was great, so or was very good at least, so it'd be great if and Black Panther was also very good, it kind of lived up to the kind of hype,
we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Well, yeah, but it would be nice if Captain Marvel was really good too, and we'll see. It's the directors that I'm not super sure about, to be honest, like because I
think that's exactly,
they're kind of inconsistent for me. I really like some of their movies, but I'm not big on, like, I could take or leave a lot of their stuff. I liked Half Nelson a lot, and I liked Mississippi Grind. I don't know what about those though made people think that they could be necessarily action directors. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully they do a great job.
But I thought the same way about the Russo brothers, and I was proven completely wrong.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I can make that argument and really stand by it anymore.
Yeah, if Marvel chose them, I mean, they've got a good track record for that kind of thing. So.
But there is a caveat to that, and that is that the directors in question, they still have to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Because the Russo brothers could have dropped the ball and fucking followed it into the street.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They like showed like they actually had something up their sleeve. You know what I'm saying? But thus far with Captain Marvel, I haven't seen anything that I'm like, oh man, that's gonna be epic. It's just like, oh, her costume looks cool. It's like, yeah, it's about the best I can do. And I really feel like the Skrulls are being underplayed. In terms of their comics origin, the Skrulls are a big deal. And in the trailer, and again, I understand it's just a trailer, but I still feel like they should be way more menacing, and they should feel like a bigger, genuine threat. I feel like that should be played up in the trailer, in the marketing, to let people know that, hey, these guys aren't just like some fucking green-faced alien weirdos. Like, and I think they attempted it, but they're like, the way they did it was more humorous. They're like, oh, look, it's an old lady that's actually an alien and she gets beat up. So it's kind of more humorous than it is menacing, but in the comics, like the Skrulls are fucking, goddamn, they're a menace. Like they are tough, motherfuckers. And there's actually a really cool kind of hierarchy that they have, in their ranks. And I just think that's very interesting stuff. And I don't know, I feel like the menace should be played up a little bit more, and I'm not seeing it, but Anyways, I'm gonna see Captain Marvel. You're gonna see Captain Marvel. I think what's interesting is that Captain Marvel comes out in March, and then Avengers is out in April. So these are bookended. And then you're also going to have Spider-Man Far From Home, which takes place directly after Avengers Endgame.
Wow, God,
So
they've got
you
so
have
much.
It is a 1, 2, 3 punch of the MCU for next year. And I think, I think Marvel's going to have another banner year in terms of their film slate. Yeah. And then it's going to be interesting to see what happens from there. And we'll talk a little bit about that coming down the pipe here in some of our news items. But
do you think any of them will get a Golden Globe nomination for Best Motion Picture Drama?
Well, I mean, if we're awarding mediocrity, then for sure. For sure. So yes, the Golden Globe nominations came out, and completely underwhelming. Mm-hmm. Silly. I'm just like, I scrolled through them and I'm just like, what the fuck ever. I don't know why do we take maybe you could explain, because you're a little more invested in it, I guess.
I honestly don't know why the Golden Globes are considered important, especially if you see the people that vote for the Golden Globes. You know, I mean,
it's foreign press associate. Who the fuck is who are these people?
Who are they? It's the people that are really annoying when you go on junkets, you know, or the ones that if you ever go to
is it the ones that ask all the bad questions and waste time?
If ever you go to a junket, or not a junket, or a press conference at TIP, it's the one who will ask like
the 5-minute long question in broken
Chris
English.
Pine, what is the poet said, and then basically what is your favorite color? you like,
dude, I remember being on the Expendables 3 set, and we had the foreign press with us on that one, and like we had the entire cast and crew on these tables. It was like the Last Supper of the Expendables, just like the poster that they did. Yeah. They're all in front of us, and then we had the press like facing them, and like I think it was China. It was I don't know, but anyways, it was a female. It was a Chinese female, and she was asking in very, very broken English.
Yeah,
I swear to God, it took her 3 to 4 minutes to get this question out, and then they I think it was first it was Lundgren, and then it was Stallone, and they kind of were trying to decipher the question, repeat it to her before they could answer, and by the time it was done, we lost 10 minutes with these guys.
And
it was the most fruitless, fucking stupid question that basically kind of amounted to, what was the challenges of returning to Expendables?
Yeah. It's kind of like that though, where it's clearly people that are kind of, literate and they do their things, and they're probably, I guess, great writers in their original language, but then they try to translate these complicated ideas into a language that they're really not familiar with in many cases, and it just comes off so badly. But then some of them are very annoying. Like I remember I was at TIFF and it was this Magnificent Seven. It was the year the Magnificent Seven was showing, and this woman was coming around and she was like, "Excuse me, where is Seven Samurai playing?" And then we're like, "What's Seven Samurai?" Samurai Western. And then it's like, "Oh, you mean the Magnificent Seven?" "Yes. Where is it playing?" And then we're all like, "Well, look in your book. We have the guide right here." And she goes, No, show me." And it was just like, and you see this at the press conferences all the time, and they're very pushy and entitled, but I don't understand why. It's, and the thing is, the votes. I mean, I hate to say it, because you and I go to junkets and stuff like that, but it's whoever has the best junket gets the nomination for these movies. Like, I mean. Or whoever gives me the best swag gets the nomination. I mean, I'm sorry, Bohemian Rhapsody being nominated for Best Motion Picture Drama. I mean, really?
I loved and enjoyed the movie, but I still don't think it's like if we're talking about awarding the best of the year, no. I really love Bohemian Rhapsody, but just because I love a movie doesn't mean I think you need to throw trophies at it.
If the foreign press wasn't taken to Wembley Stadium and to Vegas on those 2 awesome trips, I don't think this movie would have gotten nominated. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're probably right. And they really did pull out all the stops for that one too. I mean, I was part of it.
Oh yeah, sure. And they do that for all these movies get nominated before anybody gets a chance to see them. Mary Poppins Returns.
Like Mary Poppins. Who the fuck has seen Mary Poppins?
I've seen Mary Poppins.
You've seen it? When did you see it?
They sent out a screener because they wanted a vote. They
sent a screener for Mary Poppins.
They did, because they wanted a vote, because they were very desperate to. And this was not a good year for screeners either.
And is it any good?
I'm under embargo, Paul. But let me tell you,
nobody listens.
I'm gonna say this though. I've only watched half of it because I got tired of it last night and I didn't want to watch the rest, and I'm gonna finish it tomorrow night. That's all I
Yeah,
can say.
it's a pile of shit.
Well, it has good things about it, but yeah, it was not my.
Aquaman's gonna drown it. Nobody wants to. No, listen. Nobody wants to see a goddamn musical.
I think it'll probably get pretty good reviews, maybe, but I mean, it's also
reviews are one thing, but people actually going to see it are another.
I'm shocked though it got nominated for best motion picture, musical, or comedy though, and I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And Black Panther, I liked Black Panther a lot. That's the thing. I liked it a lot more than you did. Don't think it deserved a best motion picture drama nomination.
Oh, come on. Like, let's just, we have to be honest about this. And most people are, I think, looking at it this way, is that what Black Panther is and what it really achieved was a cultural phenomenon.
Oh, and it's very significant culturally as well.
Totally significant. It's an amazing feat, and it should not be underlooked. But do we award that by just saying, "Oh, it's the best picture"? Because really, that just, to me, more than anything, it just shows that these are just completely politicized wins.
I mean,
they aren't genuine wins. It's all about. It's not about the best movie. It's about, well, it's not so much the best movie.
Yeah.
But look what it achieved culturally.
But that is the thing, though.
Make it a best movie.
That's what happened with Get Out last year as well. But but the thing is, I'd like to see, the best case scenario for me with something like Get Out and Black Panther, doing as well as they have. It would be great if 10 years from now, those movies have kicked off like a real resurgence or a real start of like a different kind of thing. But then, I feel like in 10 years when that's happened, you might look back and you're like, well, it wasn't that great to begin with, and it's kind of, it's almost like Iron Man, right? With the Marvel movies, where you kind of look back at it now. And when it came out, we were all like, oh, it's a very impressive, a superhero movie. But now you look back and you're like, well,
I think Iron Man is still good. It's kind of ground level, but yeah, I mean, it's not as refined as some of the stuff they've done, and it's actually better than some of the stuff they've done. But like Black Panther, I don't love Black Panther. I like it less than you, but I don't hate it. Like, I think there's great performances. There's some really cool stuff. I think the fight choreography is a disaster, and a lot of people are like, well, it's more about the cultural stuff. I was like, no, listen up. This is a comic book movie. That is the genre it's in, and it should achieve that level of greatness that the other films achieve in terms of action and special effects and stuff like that. That's part of the genre. It should be up to par with that. And if it's not, how are we saying this is the best movie? It doesn't work. If we're looking at best comic book movie of the year, absolutely Infinity War should be on that list. If you're going to put a comic book movie up there for best of the year, it should be Infinity War, because that achieved things that have never been done before, as a film, not as a cultural phenomenon, but as a film that took 10 years of storytelling and culminated in one film with all the same actors and everything. Like, that is a serious fucking achievement that doesn't have anything to do with culture or anything to do with race. It just has to do with film.
But
that's what these awards are about.
On that same token, though, it was a really good one, was Black Klansman. I was glad to see that get nominated, because I
haven't seen it, but I
want to see it. I thought that was a very good movie. If Beale Street Can Talk,
a lot of people have said it's good.
I'm not sure if Beale Street Can Talk deserved the nomination. Definitely deserved, though, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress in a motion picture, because Regina King is excellent in it. And in fact, I would have put Coleman Domingo from that movie above maybe Timothée Chalamet in Beautiful Boy, whose role I find is kind of overrated. I find it's weird how he's suddenly being like the new flavor of them. Everybody loves it.
I'm kind of annoyed by Timothée Chalamet,
to be honest. Fine in Beautiful Boy, but it's also a very mannered kind of performance, like very actorly, and I like Coleman Domingo, from Fear the Walking Dead, is in If Beale Street Can Talk, and he's fantastic in it, and just a couple of scenes, does a lot with those scenes, and then to me, that's a great supporting actor. Mahershala Ali is not really a supporting actor in Green Book. It's he's a lead. Him and Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, that always kind of,
it's a two-head. It's like calling.
It's the same thing with like Heath Ledger in Dark Knight. Is he really a supporting actor? He's kind of like, that's like it's the balance. It's 50-50. It's Batman and Joker. Like, it's really like they're both
Green Book
actors.
Absolutely 50-50. I mean, they're on screen together the whole movie, the two of them, and it's not necessarily one is favored over the other. It's kind of, anyway. But some of these nominations, Star is Born, I was happy to see get nominated. I figured it would, but there's so many good movies that got left out. I mean, the fact that First Reformed, I'm not surprised it didn't get nominated. I really loved it. I thought it was an amazing movie, and it's probably my favorite movie of the year. But I can understand how it might not be for everyone and how it might rub some people the wrong way. But how the hell is Ethan Hawke not nominated for Best Actor for that movie? Because
I still haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of the fucking dramas minus Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsody. That's it.
That performance is incredible. And I mean, over Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm sorry. Like he really, 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 that's not even on the same, not the same playing field, not on the same specter, nothing. Like it's Ethan Hawke in First Reformed is absolutely incredible. And the same thing, I'd say the same thing for Joaquin Phoenix and You Were Never Really Here. And that's another movie I can understand people not really liking it, but you cannot deny how great that performance is, though.
Well, and that's the thing too. This is where, like, this is why I hate award shows. Okay, this is why I hate awards in general for film, because they never make sense and they're so inconsistent. And the problem that I get is that people use these award shows in their arguments and in their discourse as a scale for what's great and what isn't. And that's fucking bullshit, because so rarely do the right movies get awarded. Like the worst war film I've ever seen in my entire life, the most inaccurate pile of shit that is The Hurt Locker, won Best Picture. To me, that was like the real turning point in terms of how I viewed these award shows, because The Hurt Locker, they're like, oh, it's an uncompromising portrait of war. I'm like, no, actually, it's complete bullshit. And you guys gave it the Best Picture. And that's why I look at these awards and I'm just like, how does this make any sense? Like, what is the scale at which we are awarding? And then I'm sure you read, like with the Oscars every year, they have the
ballots,
the secret ballot things
which is such bullshit though, because you can see how prejudiced people are. Like I was really upset to read this year when they weren't even gonna, a lot of them were saying they would never consider Roma for Best Picture because it's Netflix. Like that's bullshit, because that's dumb. Like how Roma wasn't nominated.
It's fucking Alfonso Cuarón. I mean, give me a break.
And how that wasn't nominated for Best Film at the Golden Globes. Got Best Foreign Film and he got a Best Director nomination. Great, but how is that not Best Film over Black Panther? I mean, Roma over Black Panther, or Roma,
and this is what I'm talking about, like,
or over Bohemian Rhapsody, even Roma over those two movies. I'm sorry, it's not even. I mean, Roma is a classic. Roma, 10 years from now, people will still be talking about Roma. I think they'll still be talking about Black Panther as well.
Well, there'll be like three.
Bohemian Rhapsody will be forgotten. Bohemian Rhapsody will be forgotten though in 10 years. I'm sorry, it made a lot of money now, but it's not gonna stick around in the consciousness. It really won't. Yeah. It's a flash in the pan kind of hit, and I think it's also because people just like Queen. They like the music.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I saw. I just saw it as a celebration of Queen.
It's just that these categories make no sense, though, dude. I mean, okay,
I'm with you. They've got
Olivia Colman for Best Actress in The Favorite, and she's so clearly supporting actress in that movie, though. Like she is the smallest role of the three leads of the film. It's a supporting performance. It's not a lead role, and it's the same thing. Lin-Manuel Miranda is up for Best Actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy for Mary Poppins Return. And that is, he's great. He's really good in it. He's fun, but it's a supporting part. It's totally a supporting part. So how is
a lot of that too, just because it's him? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
but then why is it Mahershala Ali up there for Best Actor then? Like, why don't those positions switch? Like, it doesn't make any sense,
I'm with you, man. This is why I hate award shows and I don't take them seriously. And people somebody on Twitter was like, oh, okay, you don't take the Oscars seriously. Goodbye. And I'm just like, no, I don't. That is not the scale for me.
I mean,
and the other thing is, we have nothing to do with the Oscars or the Golden Globes. This isn't the People's Choice Award. I don't even know who the People's Choice is that decides those awards. Yeah. But the bottom line is, like, the everyday people, which makes up, the billions of people on the planet, we have nothing to do with these awards.
And it's not even critics, though. That's the thing. It's not.
Yeah, it's people in the the foreign Associated Press, and for the Oscars, it's a whole other subcategory of people that are voting for these films.
I mean, I'm just looking at it now. Old Man and the Gun, musical or comedy? It's not a musical or comedy. It's so.
Wait, there's not a dance number and a bank.
No, it's not a comedy. It's just they make no sense. Like it's just some of these.
I fucking hate the award shows, and I can't wait to get drunk and to live roast them. I used to say I'm going to live tweet them, but I'm going to live roast them.
Well, when we get to the Oscars, though, I guarantee you one person you won't be seeing is Kevin Hart.
Yes, that is true. Oh, we're going right into the next controversy of the week. Kevin Hart.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
So, okay, well, I think it's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
So just to catch everybody up, in case you didn't know, Kevin Hart was
for about 12 hours was here.
12 hours was the host of the Oscars for this year, which honestly I thought, I'm not a huge Kevin Hart fan. I really like his stand-up. I saw his stand-up here in Anchorage actually, and I thought it was really good. And I respect him as a performer and as somebody that's really made a name for himself. But anyways, he got the job and was going to host. And then as it happens, somebody somewhere decided, let's go through his Twitter feed. And they pulled out a bunch of tweets where he was basically using like homophobic language, basically like saying, "Oh, you're gay," or how he had like a skit about something like 10 years ago where he did a skit about how he didn't want his son to be gay, and it's comedy and it was funny, but at the same time, the times have changed and the culture has changed, and we view those things a little differently now. But anyways, and this is also something that Kevin has answered for in the past already, and something he's actually already apologized for. He's gone on record saying, "Hey, I was in a different place and time and everything," and so it's something that he's already addressed. So these actually aren't new. This isn't a new find. This isn't like the James Gunn thing as much, like where it's like wasn't already out there in terms of like being addressed publicly, but it just came back. So it resurfaced. Somebody just decided, I'm going to dig through these and put them in your face. And, you could read them now and easily be, I guess, offended and be like, oh yeah, that's probably not the best thing. But the problem is like, he hasn't used that language. He hasn't done any of that stuff in about 7 to 10 years, something like that. It's been for, a long time. And, he's changed and he's understood and kind of, adapted to, the way things are. And he's also addressed that, hey, I'm dealing with my own insecurities, my own problems, and that was kind of what it was. And basically what happened though was the Academy called him and Kevin Hart was actually Matt Rooney, one of our writers, he did an article follow-up on it. And I have to commend Matt because he did a really good job. And I think this is a testament to us, but also to just good journalism is, did a really well-rounded article here where you can kind of follow the story. And this is the Kevin Hart will no longer host the 2019 Oscars. And it's, he gives you the full picture here. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, but you can see Kevin's responses to it. He did a bunch of videos on Instagram and, a lot of people are saying, oh, he instead of like fighting against this backlash, he should have embraced it. And he should have, I think, and it was the president of GLAAD or somebody that had to do with GLAAD was like, he should have embraced this and used that as a means to addressing it on the stage at the Oscars. And my immediate thought to that was, yes, let's turn the Oscars more away from what we're actually there to watch, because the Oscars has kind of become a shit show for fucking, social politics. It's no longer really a movie thing. It's a fucking circus, a circus of hashtags. So anyways, Kevin Hart went on and he said, hey, basically I got a call from the Academy and they said, Kevin, you need to apologize for your old tweets or we're gonna have to move on to somebody else. And, these are tweets again from 8 or 9 years ago. And he chose not to apologize. Basically what it comes down to, he's already addressed it. He's talked about it. He's it's kind of like one of those things like, how many times do you have to apologize until the apology is accepted?
The problem is though, I'm looking at it now and I'm looking at Matt's article as well that has kind of some of his mea culpas for his apologies, and he never really did apologize. That's the thing. He said he kind of talked around it a little bit, and I mean the thing is, he always said that hosting the Academy Awards was his dream job and stuff like that. All he had to do was apologize, though. That's the thing. If he had just
but he already has.
No, but he never really though. That was the thing. He always kind of talked around it. Yeah, I'm looking at. I've done some research over it over the last few days, and he never said the words "I'm sorry" or "I apologize." He talked around it, and he kind of inadvertently apologized. But the thing is,
what is saying I mean, he gives an explanation for what it was.
That's
It was
pretty
a
much
bad joke.
all people wanted, though. They just wanted him to say, "I'm
Well,
sorry,
why?
I apologize."
Why does he have to say I'm sorry? I mean, he says like this is what it was. This is why I did it. And he says like I panicked. I was insecure. It has nothing to do with this. And it's like, isn't that basically an apology? Isn't that saying, yeah, I was wrong, and like it's like you just need to see like those two words, I'm sorry.
The thing is, though,
literally like losing our shit over somebody saying two words. Why does those two words matter? And then what we also see is like, remember James Gunn said, "Hey, I'm sorry those tweets offended." Guess what? Okay, cool. You're still fired and shunned from society.
I don't know. That was good enough for me. I mean, it was good. That would have been fine for me, to be honest. To him saying I'm sorry, and he did say I'm sorry. That was it. I was kind of over it at that point. I think a lot of people.
You were, but Marvel wasn't, and Marvel and Disney still fired his ass.
I really think Kevin Hart would have still been hosting the Oscars if he had just said I'm sorry. That's the thing. If you watch that Instagram video, he says that the Academy called him and asked him to apologize, and he said that I'm passing on the apology.
Yeah.
But that's very specific, though. That's very, I'm not going to apologize. And that's very defiant. And
I respect the defiance,
okay.
though.
Yeah, you respect that. But, personally, I don't, though. I think he could have just said, I'm sorry. Eddie Murphy did it in 1996. A long time before that. And that was a lot less, enlightened back then. He took some heat from it because he said some things, and he was part of his stand-up for a long time, and he made a really nice apology, and he made a really heartfelt apology. And I think that if he had done something like that, we wouldn't even be talking about it now. I think
right. But how far back do we have to go to apologize for everything we've ever done? When the way that they were speaking, the way that they were acting back then it's kind of the way things were.
Well, he's in the public.
I understand he's in the public eye now, but still, like, if you roll back the clock to some of the shit and some of the language that I used in the past, you would get out the pitchforks and run me out of town, because times change, things shift. Sure. Like using the words gay and fag, those were words that were used regularly, all the time, and not even in like a homophobic way, but in a way of like, hey, like, oh, don't be a fag, or like, oh, I still say that's gay. But I don't mean it in a homophobic way. I mean, just mean like, oh, that's gay. Like, that's just silly. That's done. I'm sure somebody would be offended by that. That's fine. I don't use it. I don't use it in a negative connotation way. And I also am very choosy. I don't use it in a public forum either.
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just I think he could have apologized, and it would have been much ado for nothing. And you have to also imagine that the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Science is full of, there's a lot of LGBTQ people in there. And if they want somebody to represent them, which is basically what he's doing, you don't want a guy who's been homophobic in the past, and he could, so it's kind of they're within their rights to ask him to step down, but they didn't even really ask him to step down. That was the thing. If he had just apologized and given a heartfelt apology, it would have been fine, probably. But whatever. They'll find somebody else to host, and I'm sure that they'll suck, because it's not going to be good anyway. It's not. It's not a particularly good show, and maybe they'll get like Billy Crystal out of the.
I don't even think. I'm sure Billy Crystal. They'll dig something up on him now. And I even made a joke on Twitter, which is probably very true. Is that I guarantee you, right after Kevin stepped down, anybody that was a contender, I guarantee you, was going through their Twitter feed and deleting shit. How much do you want to bet? Anybody that's a contender is like, I better take a quick scrub here and delete. But think about that. That's what it's come to. Like, now you have to like somehow sanitize who you were in order to be who you are now.
Sure.
It's like, we all have journeys. We all have flaws. We all have faults. We all go through life. We all make mistakes. We say things we don't mean. How much, do we just have to say two words and that absolves us? It's like being absolved of all your sins by confessing to God. It's like that's what people want, and yet they still cast you aside after you apologize.
Well, there's no incentive. At the end of the day, though, he didn't get fired. He stepped down. So
I don't blame him. You know what? Honestly, I think, and I have respect for Kevin in terms of standing by his guns, whether that's the right choice or not. I respect anybody that stands by what they believe, and I do understand his reasoning, and I may not fully agree with every aspect of it, but I respect that. And the other thing too is like, What is the incentive these days for hosting the Oscars? I'm when I think about it, I'm just like, what do you get out of it? I guess it's like
it's a thankless job. I mean,
like
has there
the
been
next
an Oscar host that has gotten good reviews in the last
Billy
10
Crystal,
years?
but I guess I don't know if that's in the last 10 years. But you know, Billy Crystal was an inspired host. But anybody outside of him, man, I can't even think of it. I was like, what a shit show. Like, remember James Franco and Anne Hathaway? Like, who fucking thought that up?
Yeah, that was
bad.
And
it's like everybody else that's come and gone, and you can't. At this point, it's so fucking like, it's so touchy. What jokes can you even make?
God, I'd be happy for them just not to even bother having a host. Just announce the categories and,
like, dude, it's just a circus. It's a fucking circus.
And it's almost unwatchable. I mean, last year
it really is. And it's so eye-rollingly awful. Like when people get up there to like use the stage as their whatever the fuck, and they've been doing this. This isn't new. They've been doing this since the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's always been a thing for the Oscars. So it's not really a new thing. It's just gotten perpetually worse every fucking year.
Well, it's funny. Like, remember I talked to you about Little Drummer Girl last week? Yeah. Little Drummer Girl was inspired by Vanessa Redgrave's Oscar speech in like 1977, because she went up and she did this whole diatribe against Israel, and people were like, oh, what the hell? This British actress, why is she saying this? And it's kind of, and that was what inspired Jean Le Carré to write Little Drummer Girl. The character was kind of based on her somewhat. But
interesting.
But they've been doing that for a long time, yeah. But I mean, for me, it's the skits. I mean, last year that whole thing where they went to the movie theater, and they were giving out candy, and it was like candy, and then how uncomfortable the celebrities seemed. Like Gal Gadot, just get these people away from me, these humans, these mere mortals.
And
how uncomfortable people looked.
And
the right up their horrible little lives with some Hollywood glamour.
Hi, you little fucking peons! Let us fire a t-shirt in your face.
Junk food, yeah.
While you're watching a terrible movie to begin with.
Yeah.
They're all watching A Wrinkle in Time. It's like, hey, we wanted to make your experience worse.
Here's some junk food. Here, shove this down your gullet.
Here's a fucking Snickers, you fucking peon.
Yeah. Hey, fat. Hey, fat. Here's some fat. Here's a Snickers to shove down your throat.
Oh my God. I can't wait to get drunk and fucking live roast these fucking. I'm gonna offend so many people. I can't wait. I'm excited. And that's a good thing. I mean, at least right now, while I'm employed with JoBlo, is like I don't have a corporation to answer to. I answer to one person, so I don't have to like appease any corporate people or anything. So I can just like be myself, and I really appreciate doing.
I think you should do what you told your son, though, man. Just take 60 seconds before each of them and think, is this?
Oh, I do. I mean, hey, here's the thing. That's like actually an automatic switch in my head at this point. So even if I tweet out something that you may think is somewhat controversial, I've already owned it. There's not a tweet that I send, whether inebriated or not, that I'm not prepared to own, because I don't ever hit send without thinking first. That goes to every response, every single fucking response, even if it's just a yep or some like one word answer. I guarantee you I've thought about that before I send it. I've okayed that. It's like I have this clearance, and I've created it in my head where I'm like, okay, I got to hit this. And yesterday, oh my God, there was, just a lot of activity going on. And I was like, a number of tweets that I actually wrote and just deleted. I was like, no, I don't want to deal. I'm not going to own that. And I think that everybody has to do that. And I think, even like the Kevin Harts and everybody else, whether you're a big celebrity or just a little fucking peon, word of the day, like me with a blue check mark, you still have to be ready and prepared to own every fucking word that you put out there. And by own it, I mean defend it, or even be ready to apologize for it, be ready to whatever. Either way, you're putting it out there. You've got to be ready to deal with it. And if you don't want to deal with it, if you type something, you're like, if you have a second thought and you're like, oh, what is this going to do? There's numerous times where I've written tweets. I'm like, this is going to set people off. And I'm like, nope, don't want to deal with it. I just don't want that in my life. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm just going to delete this tweet and go on with my life. And you know what? There's never been a time when I've deleted a tweet and regretted it. I've never been like, I wish I would have sent that tweet. It never crosses my mind. So there's really no negative. Just think about that. If you're ever about to put something out, there's absolutely no negative repercussion to saying nothing. Think about that before you tweet.
So what else would you like to talk about today, sir?
Let's talk about some fun things, I guess. So word on the street, there was an Amber Heard interview.
I read that.
And she had said, or well, not she, but Toby Emmerich said that there is confidence enough in Aquaman at this point that they've begun talk on a sequel, which I think is great news. I know you haven't seen the movie yet. Are you reviewing? You got the.
It's the same night. That and Bumblebee are the same night. I don't know why. I hate it when they do this, but I mean, I will see Aquaman either. If I don't see it the Wednesday, I'll see it the next night for sure, or I'll see Bumblebee the next night. So I am definitely going to see it.
So my review for Aquaman goes up on the 11th.
Is that when embargo officially breaks?
Yeah, that's the first embargo break.
Do you know what breaks on the 12th?
What?
Mary Poppins embargo.
Oh boy, I can't wait to read your review. Are you reviewing it?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't looked at the calendar yet. I usually don't look till Sunday when I send out the schedule. A little shop talk for you guys. Anyways, I think that's really cool that the Aquaman sequel is being looked at because I fucking love Aquaman. It is a batshit awesome fucking movie. It is a 90s action movie with fucking today's sensibilities and James Wan's. Really, honestly, I keep thinking about it, and that's the thing is I really, really want to go watch this movie again. And I love that, you know. I'm like, I really want to go watch this movie again. And the more I think about it, the more I love it. And I know that my perspective will change again, not necessarily in a negative way, but when I go see it again, just to be refreshed on those things, because I have these images stuck in my head, and that's what I love about Aquaman. So I'm excited that they're looking at a prospect of a sequel, and I have to say that based on the way things have kind of been trending and the box office estimates and tracking and everything,
it did really well in China.
I actually think at this point I'm leaning more towards Aquaman winning the Christmas weekend. Mm-hmm. Before I was thinking it was Bumblebee, and now I'm thinking Aquaman's going to take it. And
did really well in China this weekend. Something like 65
broke records in China. And I could see how, and it's a easy movie to digest in that sense. Mm-hmm. Aquaman should let's be clear here. Aquaman should never be nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Picture. It's not. Is it great? Do I love it? Yes. But if we're talking about Best of the Year, in terms of like refined, perfect cinema, I guess, depending on how we're defining that, probably not Aquaman, but that doesn't mean it's not a great movie. So let's just be clear. It's like honestly, it's kind of like it fits in that best movie you never saw kind of category. Like it's that kind of movie. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
I think that's cool that it's, they're looking at a sequel. And just for you guys' edification, we have interviews coming up that week with the cast and crew. And I think Jimmy O is going to go talk to Yaya, who plays Black Manta this week. And I'm also going to trying to get an interview with Jeff Johns. So that might happen as well. Be very interested to talk to him and kind of pick his brain in terms of what's going on. So we do have lots of Aquaman coverage coming up on JoBlo. So, and I'm happy to be able to cover it because it's a movie that I really genuinely loved. So that's always makes it better. Anytime that you get to cover a movie that you love, it's a little more difficult when it's a movie you don't. Like Jimmy O did Vox Lux. He did the junket, and it was just one interview with.
Oh, he didn't like Vox Lux.
He hated it.
I really liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I've heard most people like it, but he said he hated it. But it's like but that happens. It's like
that kind of movie though. It's really like a love it or hate it type thing. But
like I did Ride Along too, and I fucking hated that fucking movie. Like I was like, oh my god, this is a complete.
I did the junket.
Stupid movie.
I did the junket for Repo, the Genetic Opera, and Darren Lynn Bousman asked me face to face. He's like, "Hey, what'd you think of it?" And it's like, "Oh fuck, man." I said it was really interesting. I think a lot of people will enjoy it, and pretty much saying in my head, "Not me." Yeah.
He follows me on Twitter.
It's funny though. Oh yeah, okay. So what's this Plastic Man shit?
Warren. Anyways, moving on. So listen. I've read comics for 30 years and continue to read comics. I have stacks of comics next to my bed. I read them before I go to bed. A lot of times, it's like my bedtime stories in between books. And I love comics. I absolutely love them. Like I will die with stacks of comics next to my bed. That being said, I've never read a Plastic Man comic. I've never had a desire.
I've never heard of Plastic Man.
Oh, I've heard of him. I've read him in comics, but I've never sought them out. I've never been like, oh, where's the new issue of Plastic Man? Like, I gotta be honest, I don't know much about him. I think he's like a criminal. I think he's like, he gets like a chemical thing, some kind of that gives it. He's not like born with his ability. It's like one of those things where he gets it, and he's basically like Mr. Fantastic, and can like stretch around and stuff. And
wow, exciting.
I don't get it, and I just have to claim ignorance on that front in terms of knowing about the character. Like, as much as I know about comics, I know jack fucking shit about Plastic Man.
Well, another one I've never heard of either is, I know it's jumping ahead a bit, is Shang Chi.
We'll talk about him too, but Shang Chi is basically a living stereotype on the page. He's created during the Bruce Lee era. He is Bruce Lee. Shang Chi is Bruce Lee.
Oh,
is essentially who he is.
I mean,
I do too. And everybody loved him then. And they're kind of like, what if Bruce Lee was a superhero? And that's Shang Chi. So that'll be interesting how they do that too. But we may as well just go into it. But because honestly, I don't know anything about Plastic Man other than like he looks goofy, and my excitement level for a Plastic Man movie is fucking bottomed out.
Yeah.
I feel like what irks me is that like you see the DCEU taking these strides forward, and like Aquaman is so fucking good. Wonder Woman 84 is going to be good, I guarantee you. Well, at least that's my feeling. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I thought Assassin's Creed was going to be great based on a set visit, but it was awful. But Wonder Woman 84 looks great. I will say that. I'm sure it will be though. But like Plastic Man, like you're not gonna make any more Superman movies. You're gonna make fucking Plastic Man.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck. So, anyways, hey, maybe I'll be surprised. I'm always open to it, and I don't ever close the doors where I'm just like fuck this. I just don't see it. So
I mean, it might be one of those things though, like Stretch Armstrong, where the movie actually never gets made. So.
Good. I hope it doesn't. I don't know. Hey, if I get to talk to Jeff Johns, I'll ask him about it.
And then Shang-Chi.
So Shang-Chi he's morphed over the years, and here's the thing, they keep trying to make him work in some form, and he's been in the Avengers and stuff like that, but like he doesn't stick. That's the thing. And the reason he doesn't stick is because he's kind of just a stereotype.
Yeah. Like
he's this martial arts master. He's almost like he's an Asian Iron Fist. He's Bruce Lee as a comic character. He's all these, he is this living stereotype character that they keep trying to make work. And I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like Marvel, like they saw the success of Black Panther with like all black cast, all black filmmakers, and it was like, and that's a great achievement, but I feel like they're just trying to replicate that. And they're like, yeah, now we'll do the Asians. And that's what it feels like.
I mean, Crazy Rich Asians did really well, and but interestingly enough, though, Crazy Rich Asians flopped in China.
Yeah, because they were insulted by it.
I don't know if it was that they were insulted by it, but I think that it wasn't necessarily a
They've been outspoken about it. They said they're like, oh, so this is who we are, because they view Crazy Rich Asians as a stereotype of them.
Yeah,
it's interesting because here's the thing: in Asian culture is very different than American culture. They actually kind of laugh at us for this stuff because they have very, very different views than we do. And I think it's funny. Like I'm not going to say who it is, but there's somebody who was like in our trade. It was like, oh, I watched on the plane and I'm just crying and bawling. I was rolling my fucking eyes because I'm like, give me a fucking break. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, there's so much like virtue signaling shit going on with these movies.
I liked it.
Did you cry?
I know. I thought it was. I just thought it was a fairly well done romantic comedy.
Sure, and that's fine.
Like one of the better romantic. Like, I had some energy to it. I like the performances, but you know, I do, you know, I mean, I think that it's kind of cool if they make some, you know, something with Asian Americans. It's kind of neat, you know, and you know, I think Henry Golding, the guy who starred in Crazy Rich Asians, could be a star if he got the right part.
He's the lead guy, right?
Yeah, and I think he could if he got
he could do Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I think if he got the right kind of part, he could probably become, you know, something.
Well,
but
and here's the thing they've said for Shang-Chi, like, you know, hey, they're saying that, you know, hey, we recognize the stereotypical aspect of it, so we want to kind of shape it and change it. But and I think there's, you know, obviously there's room to try and do something with it, but at the same time, you still have to look at like, who is Shang-Chi? What was he created? And he was created ultimately to like be like a Bruce Lee superhero character. So I guess if you want, you could create something totally different out of it. But
who doesn't want to be Bruce Lee? I'd love to.
Dude, I fucking love Bruce Lee. Like, I love Brandon Lee. Like, I was a huge fan of the Lee family. I studied Jeet Kune Do when I lived in Chicago. Like, I'm more than a fan. Yeah. Like, I'm actually, you know, a former student. I tried to communicate with the Lees via Ouija board when I was a teenager. Jesus fucking Christ, Bumbray. What the hell's wrong with you?
Unfortunately, I just got Pazuzu, the demon from The Exorcist, and well, my sister was never quite the same.
I would never fuck with a Ouija board just to be.
I know. I would never do it now.
Like, there are things that like I've seen horrible things in this world. That's the truth. And this is the one thing that I guess frightens me.
Yeah, you don't like the paranormal.
It's supernatural because you don't have any control over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like whether you have any kind of faith or belief or whatever, it doesn't matter. I feel like, and I actually, I've written a couple screenplays that are horror, which is weird because I'm not a horror guy. It's so strange. But I did a lot of fucking ghost research, and because it scared me, and I think that's why because it scares me. That's why I wrote about it. I think that's what's interesting to me. But one of the things that I learned very clearly about like the ghost type stuff is
you don't like them.
For sure. But if you don't want to have any kind of like connection to that, if you don't want to be haunted or possessed or anything like that, never invite it into your life. By inviting it, by like, you know, by saying, oh, I want to know more, I want to get into, or like going to these places and like getting into, like, that is apparently, and this is just coming from experts and people that have like been involved in it and people that have been affected by it. A lot of it is just inviting it into your life. And I'm just like, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not into like horror and stuff. Cause I'm like, I don't even want to go to that headspace.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of the scariest movies, I mean, for me, one of the scariest movies ever is, do you ever hear of The Entity?
No.
Oh God. I mean, I don't even really want to talk about it, but it's one of those things that's blood curdling, right? Like, it's apparently based on a true story.
That's when you fucking up. Like, Amityville horror. The Amityville movies, just saying Amityville makes my fucking skin crawl. I'm just like, oh my God.
It's even more fucked up than this. Like, I mean, the movie, The Entity, it's with Barbara Hershey, and she's basically a woman who every night is sexually assaulted by a ghost or by a ghost demon type thing.
That's
every night.
Take
every night.
Like how sexually assaulted, like fondled or like actually like
raped,
penetrated. Really?
Raped every night by this malevolent ghost, and apparently based on the real experiences of this woman. And if you read about the case, it's just blood curdling, terrifying stuff. Like, I'm just
gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna forget you said all that.
Yeah, never watch it. It's
because I don't want to be curious enough to Google it.
And the thing is, also the problem is it's a very well made movie too, and well acted by Barbara Hershey. She's like a legit actress, right? And Ron Silver. It's got like a good cast, and it's not like a cheap exploitation movie, and that makes it all the more disturbing, right? And blood curdling stuff. Honestly, terrifying.
Don't forget everything you just said. Ron Silver. And I'm going to derail here for a second because I'm actually going to steal best movie you never saw away from you for one column, and I'm going to write about this movie called Blue Steel.
I love Blue Steel, man. I was actually going to suggest that. I love Blue Steel.
I just rewatched it again, and I always loved it. And Blue Steel is truly an amazing fucking thriller.
Yeah, and his performance in that is nuts.
It really is. But here's the other thing I'm just going to say it, and I don't want to ruin it because I am going to write this one. I'm stealing it from you just because I'm very passionate about this one.
Yeah.
I'm not really stealing it. I'm just gonna do like a guest
Sure.
thing. But the thing that I love about it, and I don't want to expand too much just because it'll be in the piece, but today's cinema has this and kind of this progressive push to like make this. I don't want to say feminist agenda because that's dumb, but like this thing about making every female character strong and perfect and like a badass and kind of making them like invulnerable to everything.
Not always though. When you see Destroyer, and if you like Blue Steel,
I think
really like Destroyer.
Destroyer might be one that finally turns it on its head.
And also,
because we're finally being able to like look, but this isn't like Tomb Raider or Black Widow or something where they're just like fucking invulnerable badasses. But Jamie Lee Curtis is like so amazing in Blue Steel, and she plays this character that is vulnerable, strong, smart, and at the same time, like somebody that is capable of mistakes and capable of and has flaws and all this other stuff. And she can be hurt, she can be wounded, all of this stuff. And it is a really such an appreciated performance by her, and just another great show of Catherine Bigelow as a filmmaker, who ironically, her movie that I fucking hate, The Hurt Locker, won an Oscar. And I love Catherine Bigelow.
It's funny though, if you compare Blue Steel and Destroyer, though, those are both movies that kind of turn that on their head, and they have a vulnerable heroine who makes mistakes but is still badass, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's very interesting though. Both those movies directed by a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the ones that
James Cameron's, I think he had a screenplay credit.
Yeah.
For Steel, or maybe I know he has
another one that's great too is Strange Days. Angela Bassett, badass in that movie.
Yeah,
but it also directed by a woman. And that's the thing. I think that a lot of times
she was a little more vulnerable too. So
that's the thing. Though a lot of times these movies they're made. When you see like the invulnerable lead or Tomb Raider and stuff like that, they're not necessarily movies made by women though, and that's that's almost a bit of a problem though, because if you really want to get a great movie about a woman, I kind of think it needs to be directed by a woman, and you need that perspective. And Destroyer is a fantastic action movie and a fantastic female-driven action movie, but it's not if that movie had been directed by a man, it would be completely different, because they would have gone nowhere near as far as they do in that movie now with Nicole Kidman. They would have been terrified. They would have been.
But that's kind of like saying that a female couldn't direct a male performance, which I
no, they can. Absolutely, they can. Absolutely, and that's not what I'm saying at all. But Destroyer, if it had been made by a man, would not have gone anywhere near as far as Karen Kusama goes in this movie.
I don't know. I think it depends on the talent. I think it completely depends on the talent. Like, let's say Alfonso Cuarón directed Destroyer.
Yes. But you wouldn't have.
It's all about who's directing.
You wouldn't have had Alfonso Cuarón directing Destroyer.
Well, I mean, I think there's other filmmakers out there that
it would have been. Well, actually, something.
Here's the thing: there's like this push to like, it's like, oh, we're changing things. Women are like badass now. We're all like badass motherfuckers. It's like, okay, let's try and make some accurate stories here rather than these little fantasy versions. You're trying to create something that doesn't really exist like that, where there's basically the Mary Sue type characters, which they're just boring. And you know what? Like any male character that's just like invulnerable all the time and never has any flaws, they're boring too.
Yeah.
It's not specific to any one gender. It's like, dude, like if you are just unstoppable and you have no flaws whatsoever, you're just boring.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, that's why I'm not as big on superhero movies as other people are. I mean, I like some of them and I like the way that they're done, but it's not my favorite genre at all, because I do find
it's surprising that you didn't like. Well, you liked Batman vs Superman a little more, which I did.
Yeah,
a lot of vulnerability with Superman and whatnot. I think the Marvel films do show a lot of that vulnerability to these characters. I think they do a really good job. And
my favorite superhero movie of the year is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I want to see that. I still haven't seen it. So,
and it's because you get all that, and it's a little less predictable. There's surprises. So
that's what I want to see. But anyways, we'll see if we'll see what they do with Shang Chi. His name's Master of Kung. Master of Kung Fu. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've really derailed.
A Snake Eyes spinoff.
Yeah. So Robert Schwenke.
Not interested.
Doesn't have the best resume, but I guess we could see what happens.
You didn't love R.I.P.D.?
No, I know.
I thought Red was really overrated too.
It was entertaining. It wasn't like great.
Yeah.
But I would give, I think that the character of Snake Eyes, I mean, he's been with me for a long time. A little Christmas story to go with this. In 1985, all I really wanted for Christmas was Snake Eye, the 1985 version of Snake Eyes, which was is still to this day the coolest version the action figure line ever released. And he came with Timber the Wolf and his Uzi and swords, and he had like the night mask and everything. And it was just like the coolest fucking figure. And my grandparents had sent a box of presents that were already wrapped, and there was one under the tree. And I knew it was I would kept feeling it. Like I would pick up the present and I would hold it. I didn't open it or anything. I would hold it.
You would just you would dance around the house. All I want for Christmas.
But I would hold it. I would touch you, baby. But I would touch. I was like, okay, I know this is G.I. Joe. And then I felt like they had a bigger compartment up top. And I thought, oh, maybe it's a G.I. Joe and a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like 2 in 1. I was like, oh, so, and like on Christmas Eve, we were always allowed to open one present.
And it was Sergeant Slaughter.
They never actually put him on a card. He was always in the vehicle. But I opened it up and it was that Snake Eyes. And I was just to this, in Christmas Story, the Red Ryder BB gun is their favorite, his favorite present. For me, it is the 1985 Snake Eyes. I absolutely loved it. And to get it today, you'd have to pay like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get a mint on card version. But that was just an amazing gift. And the thing is, like Snake Eyes, I think, much like Venom or Deadpool, he is a character that is in the cultural zeitgeist.
Sure.
When you go see the G.I. Joe movie, most people go because they want to see Snake Eyes and Storm.
He was by far the coolest character. Yeah.
Nobody really gives a shit about the other Joes.
No, nobody.
Even though there are some great other Joes, don't get me wrong. But Snake Eyes is absolutely the one that has the most mystery and allure, all the way from the comics. And I've read, and it's actually G.I. Joe comics is what got me into comics. My best friend, when I lived in Florida, Phil Bertay, who I still talk to today, he's a great guy. He had all these G.I. Joe comics. He had them in bags and boards.
Yeah, the Larry Hama stuff.
Yeah, and this was before I understood like how comics could be valuable and all this other stuff. And I was like, I'd be like, oh man, can I borrow one of these? It was my first exposure to comics ever. And I remember he let me borrow one, and I took it home, and I did not understand how to treat comics, proper. I just treated it like a magazine. Like the cover I ripped the cover off on accident, and I stapled it back on. I remember I gave it back to Phil, and I was like, "Oh, I stapled it. It's fine." And he was like, "Dude," he's like, "I'm never loaning you a comic again." And I was like, "What? I stapled it." Like I thought it was totally fine. I thought that was pretty funny. Like when you look back, if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like I would lose my shit just like he did. But anyways, that was my first intro to it, and I remember reading the Snake Eyes origin issues, which is apparently what the screenplay is based on. And it's an amazing, cool story that they've tapped around in the movie.
Do you think Robert Schwenke is going to be able to do it justice, though? I mean, you need to hire a director that's really great at fight scenes. You really do. Yeah, he would be amazing. That'd be one hell of a Snake Eyes movie. I could see, I could see Dan Stevens as Snake Eyes be great. Something like.
Oh yeah, Dan Stevens could do it. That'd be cool. And the great thing is, like, hopefully they won't do it. They'll fuck it up, just like they did with the Punisher. Mm-hmm. But Snake Eyes doesn't talk ever. Yeah. Snake Eyes never fucking talks. Mm-hmm. So the second that you write lines for Snake Eyes, you've lost the pulse of who he is. Yeah. That's the truth. Snake Eyes is 100% silent fucking warrior. He does not fucking speak. So if he speaks, automatically we've got problems.
I don't know.
I don't see how they get around that.
Robert Schwenke is not the director to do a Snake Eyes movie. He's going to do a very mid-level movie, and it'll suck.
I wish I could disagree with you, but you're probably right.
Yeah,
but anyways,
I think he's a totally uninspired choice. Totally uninspired choice.
I'm always hopeful whenever that happens. I'm always hopeful that like somebody will pull out a win. I agree with you. I'm hopeful that it doesn't go that way.
Very, very dull choice.
God damn it. So I want to get invited to a Star Wars set.
Mm-hmm.
And
never gonna happen, Paul.
If you invite me,
I
will cry on
I
set. I'll just bawl because I want to be just like Kevin Smith, who apparently gets invited to all these Star Wars sets, and every time he goes, that's all he does. He cries, and he writes about how he cried on the set. And I just think it's hilarious how every time we see a story about Kevin Smith going on a fan thing, he's always moved to tears. And I've been on a lot of these sets, and I don't ever take it for granted. Like, I'm very, very, very fucking lucky.
I've never cried though.
But I've never cried. I've never been on set and been so overwhelmed with geekdom that I'm just like, I mean, I literally interviewed fucking Gal Gadot in her Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
And my God, does she look amazing in person?
Yeah.
That's seriously one of the better moments of my career in this job is interviewing Gal Gadot in her Wonder Woman costume.
I got pretty excited when I interviewed Tom Cruise. I have to say that was like,
Did you cry?
No, I don't cry. That's the thing. I cry, and if it takes a lot to make me cry, and not something I usually won't cry if I'm happy, but it's just kind of but I was very excited, and you can see it in the video too. I just lost my shit a little bit, but I didn't cry. But good for Kevin Smith. I mean, he seems to love it though. He seems to love anytime he gets early access to Star Wars. He always has nothing but positive things to say, regardless.
And he had the same thing for you were using him for the DC stuff too early on, but not anymore.
Yeah, he loves it all.
But anyways, this is what Kevin Smith said. He was like, JJ's doing the Lord's work. This movie looks fantastic. It's a year away, but man, it looks fantastic. I wept on set because I saw somebody give a career best performance. Somebody I've seen in these movies before. I rolled a tear. It was so damn powerful. Biggest set I've ever seen in my life. The dude's not directing a movie. It's like he's directing a small country. So I wonder who he's talking about. I wonder if he's like talking about fucking Lando.
Billy D.
Who else would it be? Fucking Oscar Isaac? Come on.
Billy D.
Daisy Ridley. I have to
Billy
laugh.
D.
Daisy Ridley, like, she just has like the ability to cry and emote, and it's like everyone's like, oh, she's great. I'm like, why? Because she can fucking cry. She cried like through half of Last Jedi. This bitch was always crying.
I don't know. I like her.
I like her too, but
oh boy, though, did I ever hate her Hamlet? Her take on Hamlet. What was it? Oh my God, that was bad. That was one of the worst. I think she's got a lot to prove otherwise.
Yeah,
I mean Ophelia never came out though, and there's a reason for that. Like it's unreleasable. I can't imagine that anybody's ever gonna pick it up. It's embarrassing for everybody involved.
Well,
everybody from Clive Owen to Naomi Watts to
Clive Owen's in that.
Oh yeah, and they all embarrass themselves. Everybody comes off.
Oh.
I like Clive Owen a lot. Everybody comes off horribly.
Anyways, I cry at Star Wars movies now because they're so fucking terrible, but I'm hoping that episode 9 will fucking pull out a win. I'm hoping that I know a lot of people like, are champions of Last Jedi, whatever, that's fine. Enjoy your life. But I'm hoping that Abrams is able to pull it together and tell the story in a more complete manner the way he began it. In my humble opinion, I wish JJ just would have done all 3 of the fucking films so we'd have one consistent narrative. I wish we had JJ Abrams' Last Jedi, to be honest with you. And that's not a slight against Rian Johnson, who I think is a talented filmmaker. I want one clear narrative. And unfortunately, that will never happen. Release the Abrams cut.
Yeah.
There is no Abrams cut. So we'll see. And I wonder if Kevin Smith will continue to be invited to Star Wars sets to cry after that. What do you think?
Maybe? I think he will. He'll cry if he doesn't.
All right. So let's take a look at some listener questions and wrap this biatch up. Because we are running long and it's your fault, Chris.
Your fault.
Your fault. Let's see here. Oh, we got a lot of questions. Shit. That's good. I'm glad we got lots of questions. Let me roll back here. Hopefully I don't miss any. So if I do, I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through Twitter now to see what you guys have sent our way. It looks like quite a few things. Oh, fuck. Where is it? Okay. Ulysses, since the end of the year is coming up, top 3 movies. For me, Infinity War's for sure in there. Fuck. I'm trying to think what else I saw that was like fucking amazing. Oh, and Annihilation. I loved
Yeah,
Annihilation.
great movie.
Not sure about the third. We're actually doing just so you guys know, which I thought of because I'm a genius. I'm just kidding. I'm not, but I did think of this. I thought it would be fun to get the JoBlo crew together this year and give everybody a chance to kind of voice their favorites of the year. But rather than just doing a bunch of goddamn top 10 favorites, having each person write about one of their favorite movies of the year, kind of in the most scary movie format, where they talk about why it's great, what they loved about it, and why it's one of the best. So it's actually a cooler way to kind of deep dive into the best movies of the year. And I'm actually writing about Annihilation. Chris, you're writing about First Reformed.
Yeah.
And a lot of others, all the other movies that we thought were, just movies that stuck with us this year. So I think that's going to be really fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So we'll see how that goes. Somebody wants to know if I heard anything about Batman. No.
Well, hey, wait a second. I didn't give you my top 3.
Oh, you have a top 3. Oh, go.
Yeah, I would say off the top of my head,
Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh,
number
yeah,
1.
of course, yeah. No, off the top of my head, it would probably be First Reformed. You Were Never Really Here. And then third, I'm not as sure about. There are a couple that I was thinking of that could possibly go in there. I mean, I liked A Star Is Born a lot. Don't know if it would be my top movie, though. Oh God, what am I trying to think of though? What did I just watch recently? That was.
I know I'm in the same boat as
Roma. I'd say Roma probably for number 3.
Okay, yeah. My brain's kind of like taking a shit when I'm put on the spot for that because I whenever you're doing a top 3 is kind of minimal. If you said top 10, I could throw out a bunch of titles like, oh, I enjoyed this, enjoyed this, but like a top 10, I would definitely have Aquaman in there. I'd have Isle of Dogs, a couple others, but top 3, that's tough because then you're really narrowing it down. David Armstrong wants to know if there's anything that surprised me about Aquaman that I didn't expect. I would say a lot of the camera work, which I know James Wan is kind of renowned for, but the camera work is really stellar in terms of like delivering some fucking awesome action and especially long take, kind of long camera movement stuff, which I was really impressed with. There's a lot of care and attention put into those action scenes. So when you're watching Aquaman, watch the camera work. Like, seriously, watch it. Think about where the camera is moving, where it's going. And you'll be like, oh shit, wow, that's a hell of a shot. I guarantee you're going to feel that way. And the other thing that surprised me was there's a lot of shots that linger, which I love. There's a shot when they go to the trench, which has already been teased in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything, where they're diving down and all the trench creatures are like following them, but they have the light, so they're surrounding the light. That isn't like a 1 second seconds of them drifting down, and I love that it just lingers. Like it gives you a minute to appreciate the visuals that you're seeing. It's not just it's like so many times you see these movies that's just like they show you a scene, you're like, oh, that's really good. I want to see more of that. But James Wan recognized that, and he just like gives you all these shots. And fucking God bless you, James Wan. Armando Ronquillo wants to know 80s question: who wins in a fight, Rambo or Matrix?
Rambo.
Chris? Yeah, I think Rambo too.
Rambo fights.
He's the most seasoned. And Matrix only has 1 movie.
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, Matrix is great, but Rambo.
But Matrix, he's kind of like what we were talking about with like the female, the push to have like these invincible female protagonists. Like Matrix, nothing goes wrong for him.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, that's why I love Commando, because it is a hilarious.
Oh yeah,
slice of cinema. Is that what like he gets like cut a few? Yeah, Mark Lester. Yeah, he gets like cut a few times. You think he takes like a bullet or two, but like just everything goes right for him. Like even when things go wrong, he's like he just got an answer to it all. There's like very little struggle. He's just kind of like, I'm going to jump out of this airplane, then I'm going to kidnap this woman, and then I'm going to go and steal a bunch of guns. Then I'm going to steal a plane. I'm going to fly to this island. I'm going to kill everybody and get my daughter back. And all I leave for you is bodies. Play the rock music now. It's like everything is just fucking perfect for him.
Well, for Rambo,
it's
more like, yeah.
Rambo likes getting fucked up. Like he's like in First Blood Part 2, he's like captured and he's fucking dipped in that mud pit with leeches all over him and tortured and all this other stuff. It's like, so when Rambo, like, and then his girl gets killed and all this shit, it's like Rambo goes through some shit. And that's what makes him so awesome. Cause he's like, you're always like, oh,
okay. Now, the problem is though, if you had to be the sidekick to one of these heroes, though, I definitely would choose John Matrix because the sidekick
you got a better chance of surviving because he's like, you wait in the plane.
Because Rambo, you would be killed to give him motivation to avenge your death.
Yeah, you're probably right. Aaron McCarthy wants to know thoughts on Shazam. I'm very excited for Shazam. I was on the set. And I think it's just going to be cool, and I think it's going to be fun, and it's not going to be dark, and anybody thinks it's going to be like BVS, you're fucking stupid. So it's going to be fun, man. I think Shazam is going to be fun, but I still think, but it also taps directly into its comic book roots. It's very tied to that. It's very tied to Jeff Johns' New 52 run. I probably shouldn't say too much. Set Visit's still under embargo. But whatever, man, it's going to be good. I'm very excited for it. And I will tell you this. I think it's going to make a really big star out of Zachary Levi. He's already got a name for himself, but I think Shazam's going to push him because people are going to love him in Shazam. He's got so much passion and energy. And when people complain about the humor comic book films, I think they're going to champion this because he is legit hilarious. Like, Zachary Levi is a funny dude. And I think he's really going to sell Shazam. So take that. JRB, do we need to start a Tiki replacement GoFundMe page? Yes! I lost half my Tiki mugs in the earthquake. And that was honestly, I guess it's kind of pathetic at the same time too, because people, there's like whole businesses here, like this is no bullshit, that have to be torn down. My son can't go back to his school. He has to go to a different school on Monday. He can't. They can't even allow kids back into his school. There's so much structural damage. But my biggest loss was my Tiki mugs. So I would feel like a shameless piece of shit if I started a GoFundMe for those. But hey, if you ever want to send me a Tiki mug, it will happily go in my collection. So there. He also said, what do you suggest James Wan do next? I don't know. Well, I mean, I think he wants to go back and do a horror movie next. But if they make an Aquaman sequel, I definitely would want James Wan to do it. Let's see here. This dude with all flowers. He used to have a name. We often hear criticism, why does everything have to be dark and gritty when it comes to superhero films? Since the start of this golden era of superhero movies, how many superhero movies do you guys think are dark and gritty versus lighthearted and fun? I would say the Dark Knight trilogy is fairly dark.
Yeah.
It's just called The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. But I think that fits who Batman is. Batman should always be dark. There is no light and fun Batman. That was 1960s Batman. That's not who the character is in the comics.
No.
And that's not who you should have. You should never have a light and fun Batman. I think that goes completely against his character. I think BVS is a conundrum of a film. I think it's going to be long appreciated.
Well, I think it's what Jay Baruchel said about it. You know, it's a real piece of auteurist cinema almost. Like they totally. Really let this guy get away, and it's such it's a strong take on it from a guy that, you know, it's a really deeply personal work from Zack Snyder, I think, you know, and it is kind of a miracle that it exists, but you know, it'll never happen again. I don't think it escaped.
It really did. Like, and this is the whole thing. Like, people like Zack Snyder started. I love Man of Steel is actually my favorite Superman movie. I saw Superman the movie, the original version in theaters a couple weeks ago, and I still really enjoy it. But in terms of a well-rounded modern day Superman and if you said, hey, which Superman movie would you want to watch if you could only watch one for the rest of your life? It would be Man of Steel. I think it's just a phenomenal Superman origin tale. And Superman punches shit, and it's cool. Like it's just a really strong take, and it is dark. I wouldn't say it's gritty, but it has some dark elements to it that tap into that. But Zack Snyder had a very definitive vision for what he wanted to do. Yeah. The problem is the reception to that wasn't what WB was hoping for. It made money. Man of Steel didn't make as much, but BVS made a killing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the critical reception and kind of like the groaning of some fans, it's not. A lot of people like to think, oh, it's the bloggers that ruined Zack Snyder. It's like, no, there's certainly bloggers that had a voice that said things, but really it came down to the people too, like the fans that were just like, I see it, as much love as I see for BVS, I see as much hate. But I think that Zack Snyder set up something that it was just impossible to get away with. Like, the Snyder cut that is out there, which is an unfinished assembly that was screened for Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers just flinched. They saw this 3-hour unfinished version of Justice League, and they were like, fuck.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to go. They didn't want to go through that again. They scoffed at it. And sadly, I certainly would have preferred his actual cut rather than the Jossenstein we got. But it set a precedent that I think that hurt fandom more than it helped, because now you have an entire fan base that is resistant to anything that's not Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
But Zack Snyder, guys, I think I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan. I love his work. I really do.
Yeah.
But Zack Snyder doesn't own DC. He doesn't. No. He's not the only visionary that owns these characters and that can execute them. Like people that like call him a god and a master and all this other shit. I'm like, look, he's a very talented filmmaker, but he's not a god.
Yeah, it's a weird
he's not,
kind of.
He's not the definitive DC voice. Like,
and it's a weird cult fandom too type thing.
It really is. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you. And so, the whole thing is like, look, Zack Snyder's a talented guy. He had his day with DC. I think he made a great, and he's on as a producer of Aquaman as well. Yeah. Him and Deb. And, he had his run. He made, in my opinion, he made some great films in that market, but he doesn't own it. Like, no. This is the way it is with the comics too. Is like, it's not the same writer on Aquaman for the entirety of his life, or Batman or anything. You have great writers that jump on and work on
different eras,
these comics, and they put their take and their spin on it. And that's what creates the mythology of these characters, is these different voices, different writers, different artists that interpret them. That's the beauty of comics. That's the beauty
different
of
era. And something else will come along. And
so anyways, the Snyder era is over.
Everybody. Oh God. Yeah.
It's over. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have like a darker superhero film in the future, but his time is done with the DC universe.
I doubt Matt Reeves would make a really cuddly Batman movie.
Oh Jesus, I'm sure it'll be, dark and cool and epic. To be honest with you, it's kind of I feel like it's a dream come true to have Matt Reeves do Batman, and I'm just waiting for him to leave the project. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that's going to rattle people, but
yeah,
I hope and pray. Well, I don't pray to Jesus that Matt Reeves will direct Batman, but it is my hope that Matt Reeves actually does it. It's one of those.
I feel like he's not going to do it either.
When a frame of film is shot and it's Reeves behind the camera, I will be legit like excited.
Yeah, I agree with you though.
I'll be like, holy shit, Reeves is actually doing this.
I don't feel like it's going to happen. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's just fuck. There's just too much not rolling with that one that makes me doubt it. Let me see here. Do you think Aquaman will make $1 billion at the box office? No, I don't think so. I think it's going to make a lot, though. It's going to make more than enough to justify a sequel and to be a bona fide hit. Do I think Dolph Lundgren Renaissance with him being 2 major movies this year? There will be. Oh, I don't think so. I think Dolph's going to continue doing what he does.
Yeah, I don't think he'll necessarily
dip out
leading movies, but I mean, I could see him, getting, it might lead to an uptick in the quality of DTV movies that he's doing. You might get like maybe better directors, and and he might get the occasional part in a decent movie. I hope he does, because I like Dolph, and I'd like to see him.
I love Dolph.
I don't think he's sweating it though.
No, man, this guy, he's like, I mean, come on, he's got a long career, and
yeah,
he'll continue to do what he does, and
He's always got the chemical engineering PhD or whatever it is, or degree to fall
he's
back
fucking
on.
martial arts master and all this other stuff. Like, dude's a talented motherfucker.
Yeah.
He's like, he's the embodiment. He's the embodiment of like that perfect male movie star kind of persona where like everything goes right. Did you ever see the thing where he goes on stage and he like breaks boards and bricks and does karate and dance and all this other shit all at once? It's like a show of his talents. I can't remember what it is.
Did you see his TED Talks though?
No, I didn't even know he did TED Talks.
As a survivor of abuse. Oh boy, it's pretty good. Yeah.
He's an amazing guy.
Dolph's a deep guy. Yeah, I like Dolph a lot. And apparently a nice guy too. When I was doing my showdown in Little Tokyo research, Kerry Higuri Tagawa gave this really no holds barred interview to Random Roles and was kind of talking shit about a lot of people that he worked with. But then he was like, "Oh, Dolph Lundgren, really nice guy." And he said that Brandon Lee too. He said those were two tough guys, but they weren't like, "Oh yeah, look at me." They were kind of like, yeah, whatever. It was a movie. They were doing a movie. They were having fun. They got along really well, and it's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fedheel Rogers, this is the last one. I just watched Venom, and you were right. It's not as bad as Catwoman. It's my funniest movie of the year. Symbiote and Eddie. I don't know what the question is there, but yeah, Venom is not.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable.
Venom is a fun, silly movie, and I think what sells Venom more than anything is the look of the character. And just the fact that it is funny. The chemistry between Tom Hardy and Venom is hilarious. Like the action in Venom is pretty subpar. It's like, whatever. But it's the character interactions. That's probably why I'll actually buy it on digital, because it would be fun to rewatch the Venom and Tom Hardy stuff. Like
definitely going to get a Venom 2 though, after the money that it made. Oh boy.
Well, I talked to
that's a big grosser.
No, not only is it a big grosser, it's outgrossing other like major comic book films.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking slaying. So that's why I love there's a certain somebody that was like, it's Catwoman level bad, which I just think is hilarious. And people get all wrapped up like, well, that's not saying anything about box office. I'm like, well, yeah, it actually kind of is, because if it was Catwoman level bad, which nobody turned out to see because it looked fucking stupid and it was stupid and word of mouth said that it was stupid, that's why it was a flop. But Venom is not that. Yeah, people love Venom. People love the movie.
I mean,
even though critics hated it, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
It's getting close to, $900 million.
It's a fucking huge hit, and it's a big win for Sony. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I guarantee you, is going to be another one for that. And I think, everybody kind of giving Sony shit for like their take on this and these properties that they have. I think it's, going to be time to come home to roost, because Sony actually has pulled out a win with this. They gambled and they won.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. It's a win for us. And it's not so much a win just for Sony, but it's a win for us, because it's like, wow, you get these entertaining films coming out. And I know some people didn't love Venom. That's fine. But there are going to be more.
Undeniable that it was a massive hit, though. Undeniable.
Massive hit.
I hope that Into the Spider-Verse does really well too, though, because I love that movie. I
think Into the Spider-Verse is going to do.
It
great.
Could be Sony's little Spider-Verse experiment. Might not be the bad idea we all thought it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's what it is. Is like everybody was like, "Oh my god," they were groaning at it. Even I was, but hey, they pulled it off, so that's great. Good for them. And that's it for the questions. We have run.
But hey, it's Christmas is coming up. We should end with a nice Christmas tune.
Okay.